I laid my son to rest 20 years ago. Every Sunday for 2 decades, I stood over his grave. I never removed his phone number from my contacts because deleting it felt like erasing him all over again. Then last month at exactly 2:52 a.m., my phone rang. His name appeared on the screen. I answered. A voice whispered, "Dad, where am I?" It was him. My son, dead for 20 years, sounded confused, frightened, asking why the world around him didn't make sense. My lungs locked up. I couldn't speak. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me where you're watching from and hit subscribe so this story reaches more people. 20 years ago, I buried my son beneath a maple tree at Hillside Memorial Park. His name was etched into cold stone, Daniel Andrew Collins, born July 8, 1987, died February 19, 2006, 19 years old. The funeral lasted less than an hour. Maybe 25 people attended. His mother stood beside me but never once looked at the casket. She kept her eyes on the dirt. Her sister held her upright the entire time. Daniel's friends came, teenagers with swollen eyes, unsure of what words to use. They shifted awkwardly, muttered apologies, and one by one drifted out of our lives. Within a year, the calls slowed. Within 2 years, no one said his name anymore. That's how death works. The world keeps moving. I didn't. The accident happened late on a Thursday night. Daniel was driving home from his shift. A delivery truck ran a red light and struck his car on the driver's side. The police told me he died instantly. No pain, no awareness, just gone. I received the call at 10:58 p.m. I remember because I was watching television and glanced at the clock when my phone rang. An officer said there'd been an accident and asked me to come to Valley Regional Hospital immediately. I already knew. Parents always know. I drove like I had nothing left to lose. When I arrived, they escorted me into a private room. That's when certainty set in. They only used those rooms for tragedy. They let me see him. His face was untouched, peaceful like he was sleeping. His hand was still warm when I held it. I stood there for 2 hours, waiting for his chest to rise. It never did. His mother arrived and collapsed screaming. Security rushed in. She had to be sedated. She couldn't identify him. She couldn't sign the papers. I did everything alone. I chose the casket, the burial plot. I wrote the obituary, ordered the flowers. I moved through it all like a machine running on fumes. The funeral was worse than the hospital. At the hospital, denial was possible. At the cemetery, there was no pretending. I heard the machinery lower him into the ground. I heard the dull thud as the coffin settled into the earth. People tossed flowers onto the lid. His mother threw in a letter she'd written. I threw nothing. I stayed after everyone left. I watched the workers fill the grave shovel by shovel. I needed to see it finished. Only then did I walk away. For 20 years, I returned every Sunday. Rain or heat or snow didn't matter. I brought flowers. I talked to him. Told him about my life, my regrets, things I couldn't say out loud anywhere else. His mother stopped coming after the first year. She said it hurt too much. She said she needed to move on. We divorced 3 years later. Grief destroyed us. She remarried, had another child, built a new life. I stayed frozen in the past. Daniel's room remained untouched. His clothes still hung in the closet. His books collected dust. His phone number stayed saved in my contacts. I paid the bill every month even though the line had been disconnected, $28.99 just to keep his name alive on my screen. People told me to get help, told me to let go. They didn't understand. You don't recover from losing a child. You learn to live around the absence. Every birthday was agony. Every holiday felt incomplete. I watched his friends grow older, graduate, marry, have children. My son stayed 19 forever. I accepted it. I had no choice. Death is permanent, until last month. On October 6th at 2:52 a.m., my phone rang. I woke up instantly and stared at the screen. Daniel, his picture, taken on his 17th birthday, smiled back at me. My heart slammed against my ribs. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. That number hadn't worked in 19 years. I'd called it hundreds of times, always getting the same automated message. But now it was calling me. The phone rang 6 times before I answered. 3 seconds of silence followed. Then I heard breathing, real breathing. My throat closed. I tried to speak and failed. "Dad," the voice said. I knew that voice. I'd heard it in my dreams for 2 decades. Tears blurred my vision. "Dad, are you there?" he asked again, panic creeping in. I forced out his name. "Daniel," silence. Then, "Yeah, it's me. Where am I?" The question didn't make sense. "I don't know," he said after I asked where he was. "Nothing feels right. I remember dying. I remember the crash. I know I died. But I woke up somewhere else. I looked different. People walk through me like I don't exist. I found a phone. Your number was the only one I remembered." My legs gave out. "Can you come get me?" he begged. I asked for an address. He said he was in a dark apartment building. Then the call dropped. The timer read 9 minutes and 12 seconds. When I called back, the automated message played. "Number not in service. 4 days later, at 3:11 a.m., he called again. He gave me an address, 317 Meadow Lane, apartment 6, Brookfield, Ohio. "I think I'm dead," he whispered. "I think I'm not supposed to be here." "I'm coming," I told him. "Stay there." Before leaving, I called the phone company. They confirmed the number had been inactive since 2006. No activity, no records, nothing. I packed a bag and drove through the night, because when your dead son asks you for help, you don't ignore the call. 2 calls, both from the same number, both lasting several minutes. The supervisor's voice softened, careful in that way people use when they believe they're speaking to someone fragile. "Sir," he said gently, "sometimes prolonged grief can cause the mind to misinterpret reality. You may be experiencing something related to unresolved trauma. We strongly recommend speaking with a licensed counselor or therapist. I can provide resources if you'd like." I ended the call without responding. I didn't need therapy. I needed the truth. I took more screenshots of my call history. I recorded a video of my phone screen, scrolling through the calls, making sure the date and time stamps were visible. I needed proof. I needed something solid to hold onto, in case the world tried to convince me I was losing my mind. Then I got in my car and started driving toward West Virginia, 8 hours on the GPS. I drove it in just over 7. I stopped only for gas, grabbed coffee at a roadside truck stop and kept going. My thoughts never slowed. What would I find at that address? Would Daniel actually be there? Would the place be empty? Would it be nothing but a cruel coincidence? Part of me expected to arrive and find an empty field, but I had to know. The address repeated in my head like a chant. 317 Meadow Lane, apartment 6, Brookfield, West Virginia. I punched it into my navigation system. Arrival time, 11:49 a.m. When I pulled up, my stomach dropped. The building was old, 4 stories, faded brick, probably built sometime in the late 70s, but something was wrong immediately. First-floor windows were boarded over. The main entrance was chained shut with a heavy padlock. A sun-bleached orange notice hung crooked on the fence. Condemned, no trespassing, scheduled for demolition. I sat in my car across the street for 10 full minutes staring. This couldn't be right. I checked my notes again. Same address. Same apartment number. The place was abandoned. How could my son be living here? I got out of the car and walked closer. The fence surrounding the building was chain-link, torn open in several places. No cameras, no people. The street was silent. I slipped through a gap and circled the building. The front door was sealed, but around the side I found another entrance with a broken lock. I pushed it open. The door creaked loudly. I froze, listening. Nothing. Inside, darkness swallowed me. The smell hit first: mold, dampness, rot. I turned on my phone's flashlight. A long hallway stretched ahead, wallpaper peeling, carpet stained, graffiti crawling up the walls. Apartment doors stood open, interiors gutted and destroyed, trash everywhere, broken furniture, signs of squatters long gone. This place had been abandoned for years. I checked apartment after apartment as I moved down the hall. Empty. Hollow, dead. I climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor. Same decay, same silence. Then the 3rd floor. My heart was pounding by the time I reached the end of the hallway. Apartment 6. Unlike every other door in the building, this one was closed. Not cracked, not broken, closed. The brass number was straight, polished, almost new. The door itself was spotless. I stood there for a full minute, my body screaming at me to leave. Instead, I turned the handle. It opened smoothly, no noise. I stepped inside and forgot how to breathe. The apartment was immaculate, completely untouched by decay. Soft blue walls, clean beige carpet with fresh vacuum lines. The air smelled like soap and coffee, not mold, not dust. This wasn't abandoned. The living room looked normal. A couch, a coffee table, a television. Everything arranged neatly, like someone had just stepped out. I moved closer to the wall and my vision blurred. Photographs. Photos of my family, me, my wife, Daniel. Pictures from his childhood, first day of school, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. Photos I had copies of at home. I touched the glass, no dust, recently cleaned. Then I saw the others. Photos that never should have existed. Daniel in his 20s, in his 30s, wearing a college graduation gown, sitting in restaurants with strangers. Standing in front of this very building, older, alive, mid-30s maybe. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of everything, my hands shaking so badly I had to brace myself against the wall. In the kitchen, dishes sat drying in the rack. A coffee mug rested on the counter, liquid still inside. I touched it. Warm. The refrigerator was full, fresh food, milk that didn't expire for another 5 days. Someone lived here. Then I saw the note. It was stuck to the fridge with a magnet, written on lined paper. I knew the handwriting instantly. Daniel's. I tore it down and read, "Dad, if you're reading this, something is very wrong. I woke up here 3 weeks ago with no memory of how I got here. My ID says my name is Aaron Blake. I'm 39 years old. I have a job, an apartment, a life I don't remember living, but it isn't mine. I remember being Daniel. I remember you. I remember Mom. I remember dying in that crash. I think I'm supposed to be dead. Please help me. I folded the note carefully and put it in my pocket. In the bedroom, everything was orderly, clothes hanging neatly, size large, the same size my son wore. On the nightstand sat a wallet. I opened it. The driver's license showed an older version of my son's face, same eyes, same scar on his chin. Name, Aaron Thomas Blake. Date of birth, July 8, 1987. Address, 317 Meadow Lane, Apt 6. My legs gave out. I sat on the bed, shaking. According to this, my son had been living here under another name. I searched the apartment for hours. Bills, pay stubs, lease agreements, medical records, all legitimate, all spanning years. Then I found the hospital file. Admitted. February 19, 2006. Location, Valley Regional Hospital. Condition, severe car accident, head trauma, 6-day coma, complete amnesia. The same night my son died, the same hospital. I called the neurologist listed on the file. Dr. Elaine Foster, she said when she answered. My name is Robert Collins, I said. My son died in a car accident on February 19, 2006. You treated a John Doe that same night. I need to know what happened. There was a long pause. Yes, she finally said. I remember that case. My hands tightened around the phone. There were 2 young men brought in from the same intersection that night, she continued. One survived, one didn't. I swallowed hard. Is it possible, I asked, that something went wrong? Silence. Then papers rustled on her end. That would be impossible, she said. We use fingerprints, dental records when available. These kinds of errors don't happen. But you didn't have fingerprints for the unidentified patient, did you? I pressed. He had no ID. No wallet, no records. You never actually knew who he was. Silence filled the line. Mr. Reynolds, she finally said, I understand your grief, but what you're suggesting simply isn't realistic. You personally identified your son's body. You saw him. You confirmed it was him. She was right. I had identified my son. I saw his face. But what if I'd been wrong? What if shock and grief had clouded everything? What if the boy in that hospital bed wasn't Lucas at all? Please, I said, pull the records from that night. Admission times, treatment notes, everything, both patients, she sighed. Those files are nearly 20 years old. I'd need authorization. This isn't something I can just release. My voice broke. My son called me, twice, from a phone number disconnected for 2 decades. He gave me an address. I'm sitting in his apartment right now, staring at medical files with his face on them. Something happened that night, something no one noticed. Please help me. The line went quiet long enough that I thought she'd hung up. Then she spoke again, softer. Give me until tomorrow, she said. I'll pull everything I can, but you need to prepare yourself. You may not like what you find. Grief can make us see patterns where none exist. I thanked her and ended the call. That night I stayed in the apartment. I couldn't bring myself to leave. I sat on the couch, waiting for Lucas to walk through the door, waiting for the phone to ring. Neither happened. Eventually, exhaustion pulled me under. Sunlight woke me. 9:26 am. My phone showed 6 missed calls, all from Dr. Elaine Morris. I called her back immediately. I found something, she said. Her voice was unsteady. You need to come to the hospital. I can't explain this over the phone. Driving back to North Valley Medical Center felt like stepping into a nightmare I thought I'd escaped 20 years ago. Same building, same parking lot. Walking through those doors made my chest tighten. Dr. Morris met me in the lobby. Gray hair pulled back, dark circles under her eyes. Come with me, she said. She led me to a small 3rd-floor office and closed the door. Thick folders covered her desk. A laptop sat open. I spent all night in the archives, she said. What I found doesn't make sense. She opened the first folder. On February 19, 2006, 2 patients were admitted here from car accidents at the same intersection. Patient 1 arrived at 11:49 p.m. Critical condition, massive head trauma, pronounced dead at 12:14 a.m. on February 20th. She slid the paper toward me. Death certificate, Lucas Aaron Reynolds. Patient 2 arrived 6 minutes later, also critical. Severe head trauma but stable enough for surgery. Operated on for 7 hours. Survived, fell into a coma. When he woke up 6 days later, he had complete retrograde amnesia. No ID, no memory. He became our unidentified patient. She opened another folder. Photos, charts. This is Nathan Cole, she said. The John Doe who survived. She turned the laptop toward me. 2 photos appeared side by side. On the left, a hospital image from 2006. A young man bandaged and unconscious. On the right, a driver's license photo taken years later. My breath caught. That's my son, I whispered. That's Lucas. Dr. Morris leaned forward. Here's what doesn't add up. According to police records, there was only 1 accident at that intersection that night. 1 sedan hit by a truck, 2 drivers total. but we treated two patients with nearly identical injuries from the same location within minutes of each other. My head spun. How is that possible? It shouldn't be, she said quietly. Unless something went wrong, unless intake records were confused during a chaotic shift, unless assumptions were made. You're saying the wrong person was declared dead, I said flatly. Her face drained of color. I'm saying there may have been a misidentification, rare but not impossible. She slid another document across the desk. Blood type matched, age matched, physical traits matched. And according to intake photos, she added, facial structure was consistent despite trauma. I stood up dizzy. So I buried the wrong person, I said. I've been visiting the wrong grave for 20 years. And my son has been alive this whole time. I'm saying there are serious irregularities, she replied. And this man needs a DNA test. She handed me a slip of paper. This is where Nathan Cole works, Ridgeway Industrial Plant. Night shift, he starts at 11 p.m., then she paused. If this is your son, he doesn't remember being your son. He's lived an entire adult life as someone else. She gave me a sealed plastic bag containing a swab. If you can get a DNA sample, we'll know within 48 hours. That night, I parked outside Ridgeway Industrial at 10:47 p.m. Workers arrived in groups, lunch pails in hand. At 10:54, a silver sedan pulled in. A tall man stepped out, backpack slung over his shoulder. Something about the way he walked made my chest tighten. He stepped under the lights. I couldn't move. It was Lucas, older. Lines around his eyes, broader shoulders, but unmistakably my son. I stood there crying as he disappeared inside. During the 2:15 a.m. break, workers spilled into the lot. He came out alone and leaned against the fence, staring up at the sky. I walked toward him. When he noticed me, our eyes locked. Confusion crossed his face, then something deeper. Can I help you? He asked. His voice, Lucas's voice, just older. I'm sorry, I said shakily. You look like someone I used to know. He studied me, unsettled. That's strange, he said slowly. You seem familiar, he said. Have we met somewhere before? I shook my head. I don't think so, I'm not from here. I stepped closer, close enough to see it. The faint scar on his chin, the one from the bicycle crash when he was 8 years old. It was still there. Faded but unmistakable. What's your name? I asked. Ethan, he replied. Then after a pause, Ethan Carter. My chest tightened. And you? I almost said Samuel. Almost told him everything. Instead, I swallowed. Luke, I lied. Luke Harris, he nodded, but his eyes stayed on me, studying my face like I was a riddle he couldn't solve. This might sound strange, he said slowly, but I feel like I know you, like I've seen you before. My throat locked. Maybe, I whispered. He gave a nervous laugh. Yeah, sorry, that sounds crazy. I've been having these intense dreams lately, really vivid ones, about a life I don't remember. What kind of dreams? I asked. He shifted uncomfortably. It's probably just stress. My therapist says it's my brain filling in gaps. Gaps, I said. I had an accident years ago, he explained. Lost all my memories from before it happened. So sometimes my mind invents stories to make sense of what's missing. He rubbed his face, exhausted. Lately the dreams have been different, stronger. I see people I don't recognize, but they feel like family. Places I've never been, but they feel like home. My heart pounded. And there's one man, he continued quietly. An older guy, always watching me, always sad. I couldn't breathe. I think he's my father, he said. But I don't remember having one. My knees nearly gave out. What does he look like? I asked. Ethan studied me carefully. Like you, he said softly. Exactly like you. The air between us felt charged, heavy. He took a step closer. Who are you really? He asked. Why do I feel like I know you? I wanted to tell him everything. Wanted to pull him into my arms. Instead, I forced myself to stay steady. I lost someone a long time ago, I said. Someone who looks like you. I guess I saw his face in yours. I turned away. I had to leave before I shattered. Wait, Ethan called. I stopped. What was his name? He asked. The person you lost. I looked back at him, at my son's face. Daniel, I said. His name was Daniel. Ethan froze. That's impossible, he whispered. How do you know that name? My heart stopped. What do you mean? His face drained of color. In my dreams, he said shakily. People call me Daniel, not Ethan, Daniel. He pulled out his phone, hands trembling. 3 weeks ago, I woke up and found this in my notes app. I don't remember writing it, but it's my handwriting. He turned the screen toward me. I am Daniel, I am Daniel, I am Daniel. The words covered the screen again and again. I thought I was losing my mind, he said, his voice breaking. But you just said the name from my dreams. My hands shook as I pulled the DNA kit from my pocket. I need to ask you something, I said, and I need you to trust me. He stared at the kit. Will you let me take a DNA sample? I asked. Just a cheek swab, 10 seconds. Why? He asked. What's happening? I met his eyes. Because I believe you're my son, I said. And I believe you've been alive this whole time. He didn't move. You said your son is dead, he said flatly. That means he's gone. I nodded as tears streamed down my face. I buried him 20 years ago, I said. I stood at his grave every week for 2 decades. Then I told him about the phone calls, the apartment, the photos, the note written in my son's handwriting. Ethan stepped back, shaking. "That's insane," he whispered. "Then prove me wrong," I said, holding out the kit. "If I'm wrong, you'll never see me again." He pressed his knuckles to his mouth. "I died," he said. "In my dreams, I remember the accident." "So do I said. "I remember identifying your body." Silence fell between us. "If you're telling the truth," he said slowly, "then I lost 20 years. "Yes," I said, "we both did. How do I come back from that?" he asked. "We figure it out together." After a long moment, he nodded. I took the sample. 48 hours, I said. "A doctor at Riverbend Medical will run the test." "What do I do until then?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "Can I call you?" "Yes." "What should I save your name as?" he asked. "Whatever feels right," I said. 2 days later, the call came. "It's a match," Dr. Alvarez said. "Ethan Carter is your biological son. Daniel was alive." I called him immediately. Silence. Then sobbing. "I don't know how to be him," he cried. "I know," I said. "But we'll learn." We met at a diner that afternoon up close. I saw both my son and the stranger he'd become. "I want to try," he said. "I want to know who I was." Hope, something I hadn't felt in 20 years, flooded me. We took it slow, we talked, we remembered, we rebuilt. I buried my son 20 years ago, but he wasn't dead, he was just lost, and I finally brought him home.